So the South Dakota Property Rights and Local Control Alliance, SDPR-LCA, thanks you for participating in our 2026 primary legislative candidate video survey. As a nonpartisan grassroots organization, SDPR-LCA is dedicated to protecting private property rights and maintaining local authority. Following the 2024 general election, where 65 of 66 South Dakota counties voted no on Referred Law 21, voters are eager to hear where the 2027 legislative class stands on these core issues. So the ground rules for our survey, we invite you to introduce yourself for a minute and a half, and then we have 5 targeted questions and 2 minutes allowed for each question, and then a closing statement of 2 minutes. And upon completion of the video survey, the candidate is free to go. And all 5 questions will focus specifically on property rights and local control. And you have the questions in advance to formulate answers. And our recordings will be posted on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and website. So in introduction, Jeff, I'd like you to introduce yourself to the voters. Please tell us about your background, your connection to your district, and what specific conviction or event led you to step forward and run for the South Dakota legislature in 2026.
All right. Well, first off, let me apologize for my constant coughing. My 3-year-old granddaughter decided to share her cold with me, and so I'm fighting through that. So I'll try not to cough a whole lot. But as you said, I'm Jeffrey Church. I'm a retired U.S. Army colonel. I served 30 years on active duty. That included 5 combat tours, once in Kosovo, twice in Afghanistan, twice in Iraq. I was stationed in Germany twice, Hawaii, Guam, and around the continental United States. I'm a Christian, a son, a husband, a father, and a papa. I have 3 adult children who all live here in District 17. I have 4 grandchildren, one who passed away several years ago. We have 3 cats and a dog, which makes for a lively house. I like the outdoors and have had several RVs. I currently have a Class A gas RV, but I'm looking for a good deal on a Class A diesel RV if anyone is looking to exercise their right to dispose. I have a bachelor's degree in political science, a master's degree in public administration, and a Juris Doctorate in law. I'm currently a PhD student working on my dissertation at SDSU. As I said, I live in Vermilion, and I do not have to attend any physical classes in Brookings. So yes, I live in District 17. I do my PhD work mostly online, and I'm running to be our next District 17 state senator so we can send our current anti-property rights tax and spend senator home. I'm running for the District 17 state senate seat because South Dakota values are worth fighting for, and our current state senator isn't doing that. Reelecting her means more of the same: a growing state budget, expanding government, increasing taxes, and little respect for private property rights. So, unless there's questions, that's a brief summary of me.
Okay, very good. Sounds like you've done a lot.
60 years worth of stuff.
Okay. So our question 1 is district specific. What do you identify as the primary property rights issue in your district, and what is your single most serious concern regarding it, such as resource depletion, loss of local control, or unintended consequences?
So for me in District 17, I kind of have a unique perspective, but I also have a real answer. My unique perspective is the number one most serious concern regarding our property rights is our current state senator. She has consistently voted against private property rights. In 2024, she voted in favor of Senate Bill 201. In 2025, she voted against House Bill 1052. And every other bill on the SDPR LCA scorecard, except Senate Bill 198, which was also wrong. She was good with forcing property owners into mediation without their consent. And in the 2025 scorecard, she got an incredibly amazing 0%. That is hard to do. Tells you where her votes are. And in 2026, she managed to raise her score to a whopping 50%, which is still failing on property rights and local control. And my most serious concern is that she has a consistent history of voting against property owners and local control in favor of big corporations. As I said, she's a tax and spend legislator and accepts a lot of campaign contributions from PACs that are not in favor of protecting private property rights. Her vote could be the deciding one for District 17 and South Dakota, losing property rights and local control. So she has a record of voting wrong on these issues. Now, as for a physical thing, I would say it's flood mitigation. In 2024, we had flooding around North Sioux City, specifically McCook Lake. We lost several private residences, and we know that flooding will continue along with the associated destruction of private property unless we take action to mitigate future flooding. This mitigation can take between 30 and 50 years to implement a plan and complete it. We should have gotten started 2 years ago at the latest. And my single biggest concern is this known flooding issue is not addressed in our state water management plan. And I know we can expect at least one more flood within the next 30 to 50 years.
Okay. So with that, you could go right into the second question, which is the action plan. What specific legislative action or policy change would you champion to address this issue?
Sure. First, talking about the current state senator, that's why I'm running against her, to get her out of office, to bring her home, and to bring representation back to Pierre that respects private property rights and local control. So that's one of the main reasons I'm running. As for the flooding, I would like to see our South Dakota codified laws, chapters 46 and 46A, which are water rights and water management, revised to address mitigating future flooding in the district. I'd like to see the state get flood mitigation planning for the district into the state water management plan. And I would work to accomplish both of those tasks.
Okay, very good. Question 3 is core components. Property rights involve the right to possess, control, exclude, enjoy, and dispose. How is the right to exclusion at risk from state mandates in your district, and how will you protect it?
Yep. The South Dakota statutory framework gives state actors and utilities some tools that can be used to take or burden private land. I will protect property rights by pushing primarily for narrower definitions of public use, amending South Dakota Codified Law 21-35 to explicitly prohibit condemnation for private profit or speculative transfers. We need to enact strict limits on pre-condemnation entry and surveys. We need to require written owner consent or court-issued siting permits before any entry or survey and impose civil penalties for unlawful entry. We need to pass a robust landowner bill of rights, guaranteeing reclamation, compensation standards, percentage thresholds for voluntary agreements, and expedited judicial review. We can defend local control by supporting county ordinances that reflect local consent, and we need to maintain the right to litigation when necessary.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Question
We'll
4.
save a lot of time on this next question.
Okay, okay. Yeah, most of our people have been that way. They haven't taken a lot of time on this one. Eminent domain. Under what specific circumstances, if any, do you believe eminent domain should be used for projects owned by private corporations?
So my answer is none. We should not use eminent domain for private corporations or private profit.
Okay, very good. And 5 is local control. Describe a scenario in which local control is not enough protection.
So I thought about this, and this is where I'll take some time back from question number 4. If we have, for say a hyperscale data center framed as a statewide economic necessity or as a national security concern, that could defeat county protections and force takings under state law. Local control matters, but without statutory limits on state siting authority, for example, and eminent domain, landowners in this district remain vulnerable. We must pursue narrow public use definitions, as I mentioned earlier, stronger owner consent rules, full compensation standards, and legal and political strategies to restore meaningful local control. How the state might override control in this scenario: if the project is designated as a state level economic development priority, triggering state incentives and a streamlined approval track, that sidelines counties' moratoriums on or stricter local zoning. A state agency or the Public Utilities Commission could issue a statewide siting certificate for the necessary transmission and fiber corridors, finding the project serves a statewide public interest in digital infrastructure. An eminent domain for public use. Here, the provider or a designated utility partner could obtain condemnation authority under state law for facilities deemed to serve a public use, allowing forced easements despite county bans. A preemption of local ordinances could be done in state statute or the siting certificate, expressly preempting conflicting county land use rules and nullifying local ordinances that would have blocked construction or required stricter mitigation. And specific consequences, I say for District 17, but across the state, would be forced permanent easements across productive acreage, reducing usable farmland and resale value. We could see increased traffic, noise, and infrastructure strain from both the construction and the service access. We could see long-term restrictions on land use around the campus and corridors, limiting future development or sale options. And we could see unequal bargaining power that leaves small landowners accepting less favorable terms than larger sellers. All hypothetical, of course.
All right. No, that definitely sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I was afraid to say that because I didn't want somebody to take those ideas and use them.
Okay, well, hopefully you're pretty safe on this call. So, in closing, as we head toward the June 2nd primary, it's vital that voters know how to reach their potential representatives. For our final 2 minutes, please let the folks in District 17 know how they can contact you directly, where they can pick up a sign to show their support, how they can join your team as a volunteer, and how to give donations.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for having me on and for letting me talk with the listeners and hopefully some District 17 people. I'll just let you know, we always say 65 out of 66 counties voted no on RL 21, right? Guess where the 66th county was? Yes, District 17. So you can keep that in mind as we talk about that. But thank you for having me on. All of my contact information is on the slide that's displayed on the screen. If you want a lot of detail about me, you go to the first website, the wordpress.com one. That goes into a lot of detail. And then if you just want an abbreviated version, you can just go to the jefffordistrict17.com website. I post a lot of campaign information on my Facebook page. And you can find that on Facebook at Jeff for District 17, South Dakota Senate. And links for donations are on all of my campaign pages. So if you're interested in contributing, you can find the links there to digitally donate, or if you prefer to send a check, my contact information is on the websites, and you would just make the check out to Friends of Jeff. But if you're going to donate, hurry and do it because election day is almost here. So it'll be hard to get a lot of money spent quickly.